You learned about the sexual mode of reproduction in plants. We learned so many asexual methods as well as sexual method of reproduction in plant. We studied the structure of flower and how germination of the pollen takes place on the stigma part. After all that, let us move to another interesting part of this lesson, that is sexual mode of reproduction in animals. You are very much interested to know how this mode of reproduction takes place in human beings. So you are all studying in 10th standard and your age is said to be a teenage. You are all teenagers now. So you are observing certain changes in your body. So what are the changes you observe in your body? So you will be very happy to see that you have been attaining a good height. So when you are small, your height will be very short, and as you become older, so you attain a very good height, and along with that you will be noticing some of the changes. So these changes may be the appearance of the breast in girls and appearance of the hairs on the face of the boys. So they begin to develop mustache and beard. So these changes will be very fast and quick in some children. But these changes are very slow, and it takes so many days and months in some children. So these changes are due to the hormones. So some children will be having a moderate amount of hormone secretion in their body, and some children will be having a little bit slower or a very less amount of this hormone secretion, or some children may have more secretion of these hormones. So what do you call these changes? So these changes together can be said to be general body enlargement. So general body growth is observed. See here, when you see your fingers, or when you see the nose, and when you observe the hair pattern of different people, so all these differ from one person to another person. The size of the fingers, nose and the hair pattern differs from one person to another person. Like that, the size of the breast and size of the penis of the boys, so it also differs from one person to another person. So all these changes you will be noticing in these days, that is teenage year. So this teenage is called as adolescent period. During this adolescence period, you will be observing certain general changes which are common to both boys and girls. So what are those changes? So appearance of thick hair growth on the armpits and the genital area. So in the armpit region and the genital region, so there will be growth of thick hairs. The skin of that area also become darker. And next, so the second point which is common to both boys and girls is, so they develop a thin hair growth on their legs and arms as well as on the face region. So that is another thing. So another thing is, so the skin of their face become very oily. So due to that, the oil present on the skin attracts the dust and microorganisms, and later they develop pimples also. So all these are due to the hormonal secretions. Next, they become more conscious. Children, both boys and girls, become more conscious about their body, and they also begin to observe keenly the body of others also. So all these changes are common to both boys and girls. Here when we come to particularly the girls, so the girls, so they will be having some of the changes in their body. So their breast size begins to enlarge. So the breast, they will be having nipples. So the tip of the nipples and that area, so the skin becomes darker in nature. And girls begin to menstruate at this age. So some girls menstruate early and some menstruate little late. So these are very normal. You should not be worrying that somebody got menstruated early and somebody menstruated late. Like this you may not think. So that is very normal, as there will be variation in the hormonal secretion in your body. So this variation takes place. And in girls, there will be development of the uterus also, as the uterus will be carrying the future baby. So as soon as girls attain the menstruation, so the waist region consisting of the uterus become very strong, and bones and muscles of that area also become very strong. And in boys, some other changes will be observed. So what are the changes you observe in the boys? So thick hair growth on the face. So they develop moustache and beard on their face. So together with that, so their voices begin to crack. So the boys will be having voice like that of the girls at their early age. As they attain this adolescence period, their voice become cracked. And what happens to their penis? So the penis gets enlarged, and occasionally, at some times only, it becomes erect. So it becomes straight or erect, and it becomes enlarged. So all these are said to be some of the particular changes that are observed at this age. So at this time, so you will be observing two types of body growth. So general body growth and the growth of the reproductory structures. So general body growth will be getting little slow down, and after that, so the reproductive structures begin to develop. So this period is called the puberty. So this period of adolescence is called puberty. So the rate of general body growth begins to slow down, and the reproductive tissues begin to mature. This period during adolescence is called puberty. So why does the body show sexual maturation at this age? So until now you are said to be children, and these years during your adolescence period, suddenly your body gets changed and your reproductive structures begin to mature. So why this maturation takes place at this age? So as we are all living organisms, so for our existence we have to reproduce. So if any organism is not reproducing, means it will not continue its progeny. So for a survival of any living organism, this reproduction is very essential life process. So like every living organism, human beings also reproduce. So the sexual maturation will be taking place at this age. So that is the adolescence period. So the period where the general body growth begins to slow down, and there is certain changes which become very fast in the reproductive parts. So that period is called puberty. So let us learn how this reproduction or reproductive process takes place in human beings, and we will be knowing the male reproductive system and female reproductory system. Let us learn the human male reproductive system. So in this diagram you are observing the different parts of the male reproductive system. You are observing the urinary bladder here. Urinary bladder collects the urine where that urine got generated after filtration of the blood in the kidneys. So this bladder is having a tube, that is, this connection is called urethra. So this urethra region is entering into the penis region. So this is penis. So this is a highly muscular region, that is the genital area of the male reproductive system. So this penis is having this tube-like structure that is called urethra. So around this urethra, this is a highly muscular region. See, this urethra is a common passage for both the urine and the sperms. So sperms, where do they get generated? You are observing a scrotal region here. This is called scrotum. This scrotum is having a testis inside that. So testis will be having the specialized cells inside that. So these cells produces the sperms. So testis is the region where the sperms are generated. So these sperms, for their transportation, they need a fluid. So this seminal fluid, so it's generated or secreted from these seminal vesicles and the prostate gland. The sperms are transported through this vas deferens. So here seminal fluid will be there and mixed with the sperms, and this seminal fluid will be entering into this vas deferens and is collected in the seminal vesicle. So occasionally this collected seminal fluid consisting of sperms so get ejaculated through this urethra. So this urethra is the common passage for both urine and the sperms. So what is the function of these seminal vesicles and prostate glands? So these produces the seminal fluid. Then this is the ureter. And this is called vas deferens. So why this testis is situated outside the abdominal cavity? Since the sperms which are generated here, they need the less temperature when compared to the normal body temperature, so they are situated outside the abdominal cavity. The normal body temperature might have killed the sperms, so to experience the less temperature, so the nature has developed this scrotum region outside the abdominal cavity. So this testis, apart from the generation of the sperms, it also produces a hormone called testosterone. So testosterone is a hormone which regulates the formation of sperms, and it is also responsible for changes taking place in the males which are concerned to the reproduction. So some changes like the formation of the sperms or the appearance of the hairs on the face region, the genital region, and the cracking of the voice, all these are because of this testosterone. So testis helps in the formation of the germ cells or sperms. Vas deferens helps in delivering the sperms. Urethra is the common passage for both sperms and urine. And this seminal vesicle and prostate gland helps in secreting a fluid which helps in the transportation of the sperms, as well as it provides a nutrition to the sperms. So these sperms are the tiny bodies consisting of the genetic material. You might have known these special cells present in the testis. So undergo a meiotic cell division where there is a reductional cell division where half the amount of genetic material is transferred from the mother cell to the daughter cells. So here the daughter cells consisting of half of the genetic material. So they are said to be sperms in case of males. So these tiny bodies consisting of the genetic material have the long tail region. So this long tail region helps in their motility. So the long tail helps the sperms to move or transported towards the egg and helps in fertilizing the egg. So this is about the human male reproductory system. Let us learn human female reproductive system. In this diagram, you are observing the parts like oviduct, fallopian tube, ovary, uterus, cervix and vagina. Here the main part you are seeing is the uterus. Uterus is a elastic bag-like structures where the two oviducts are connected to it. You are seeing a oviduct here. It is also called by another name, fallopian tube. See, this oviduct or fallopian tube is connected to this ovary. See, from this ovary, oviduct is connected and it is getting entered into the uterus region. See, this ovary is the place where eggs are generated. So here eggs will be there. So every month the matured egg will be entering from the ovary and it reaches the fallopian tube. From the fallopian tube it enters the uterus. See, this is the cervix region. This is the tip of the uterus, or it is entering into the vaginal region. So this vagina is the place where it is getting entry of the sperms into it. See, ovaries are the main place where eggs are generated. Here one interesting thing is there to know about the egg formation. So when the female child is born in her mother's uterus, so her embryo will be developing. So as the embryo develops the genital structures, so these are the ovaries in case of female. So female baby, when it develops ovaries in her mother's womb, so thousands of eggs will be already generated in the embryo status only. See, these thousands of eggs will be there, so which will not be matured. When the girl child attains her puberty, so her reproductive structures still begin fully developed, and after full development, so these eggs which are there in the ovary, so they mature one by one. So as the ovaries also produce a female hormone called progesterone. So this progesterone helps in maturation of the eggs. So when the first egg becomes matured and so it enters into the fallopian tube and it waits for the sperms to get united with it. So if it is not fertilized with this sperm, the sperms will be entering into the vagina which are secreted by the male species. So if it does not receive the sperms, so the egg will die, and the egg upon its death will be entering through this vagina and it is called menstrual flow. So when the girl attains her puberty, her first egg get destroyed and she experiences the menstrual flow, then we say the girl has become menstruated. She has started her menstrual cycle. So every month one egg will be released from either left ovary or right ovary. Here you are seeing two ovaries, left and right ovaries. So like this, so if the egg is not fertilized with the sperm, so it simply dies and comes out through the vagina. See, this is uterus. So it is a elastic bag-like structure. So inside that, so there will be a formation of a special tissue. So that special tissue is called placenta. So whenever there is a fertilization taking place, so that when egg fertilizes with the sperm, so here it gets implanted inside the uterus. So soon after that, so there is a disc-like structure which gets formed inside the uterus. So that is called placenta. So placenta is a special tissue which provides nutrition to the embryo through the mother's blood. So here placenta is a special tissue. So the implanted fertilized egg so gets nutrition and it continuously proliferates, it continuously divides to become the embryo, and it is upon still upon the growth, so it is called as fetus. So this fetus gets the nutrition from this placenta. See, this placenta is having a finger-like projection, so those are called villi. So that villi helps in increasing the surface area of this placental region, and as soon as the mother's blood provides the nutrition, so it is provided to the growing embryo and the fetus inside the uterus, and it helps in the growth of the baby. As well as this growing embryo will be producing waste substances also. So those waste substances also get entered into the blood, and that blood will be received by this placenta and sent to the mother's blood. So the mother's blood gets purified later with the help of the kidneys. So like this, so this female reproductive system has its own mechanism. So here, so this uterus region is highly muscular region. So as the growth of the baby becomes complete, so the gestation period of the baby is 9 months in humans. So after full development of the baby, due to continuous or vigorous contraction of the uterine muscles, so the baby comes out through the vagina region. So this is called the delivery of the baby. So if the normal delivery doesn't occur, so the abdominal part is cut open to take out the baby outside through a surgical operation. So once again, to know the functions of the parts of the female reproductive system, here vagina is the region for the sperm entry. Sperms are the male germ cells, so which are produced from the males, so they get entered through the penis and will be inserted into the vagina region. And next, ovary is the place where female germ cells or eggs are formed, and ovaries also produce some of the important hormones called progesterone and estrogen. So those are helping the changes which takes place in the uterus, which support the growth of the baby. Then oviduct is the tube where egg produced will be entering into the oviduct and will be reaching the uterus region. Then uterus is a elastic bag-like structure where two oviducts are united. So this is uterus is a triangular muscular region, which is elastic in nature. So it is connected to the oviducts. Then placenta is a special tissue which provides nutrition to the embryo through the mother's blood. So mother's blood will be providing nutrition to the growing embryo, as well as it receives the waste substances generated by the embryo also. Egg produced in the ovaries is considerably large in size when compared to the sperms. So sperm is a very tiny body where it is having it is highly motile in nature, but does not consist of any nutrients in that, whereas egg is a considerably large in size and it consists of nutrients in it. So upon fertilized with the sperm, so the zygote will be having, or it will be having the food which is stored in the egg. So by the help of this stored food inside the egg, it is able to continue its division, where it becomes the embryo and the future baby. After learning the male and female reproductive system in human beings, so there comes a question, what happens if egg is not fertilized? So if egg is not fertilized, so that egg, upon the failure to get unite with the sperm, so it simply dies and it comes out in the form of menstrual flow. So egg will be alive for 24 days, whereas the sperm will be alive for 2 to 3 days. So at this time, so there should be union of this sperm with the egg. So upon failure of this union, so the egg dies, and when the egg get ruptured, so it comes out through the vagina. So to prepare for the future pregnancy, the uterus have got prepared itself with a uterine wall. So all the placenta will be present in that area. So that uterine lining along with the dead egg, it comes out in the form of bleeding. So the dead tissue all will be going out of the vagina region for 3 to 5 days. So this is called menstrual flow. So what happens if egg is not fertilized means the egg dies, and so there may be there will be the menstrual flow. So next, so there is another heading which is very important, where we are learning some aspects under reproductive health. So here we learnt about the reproductive structures and which are the germ cells or the gametes produced in males and females. So as people get married, see what happens, there may be pressure created to have children for that married couple. So when there is a difficulty in giving birth to the child, so there may be suggestions coming from all around, so why you are not able to reproduce. So that is one type of pressure which is there on the couple. So another problem is, so the couple will have a child. So will have a child, and after that they want a gap between the first child to another child. So at least they should maintain a 3 years of gap between one child to another child. So at that time, so what should be done? So many people will be ignorant of that time where they should avoid the pregnancy. So that is another type of pressure. So after having one child, so there will be pressure from the government side not to have a big family. Maybe couple having the desire to have more and more children, but government says or government insists upon the people to have a small family. So at that time, so there will be a question of avoiding this pregnancy. So there are certain methods to avoid pregnancy. So the overall methods of avoiding the pregnancy are called contraceptives method. So before learning contraceptive methods, so there is another concept that you have to know. See, this couple will be having intercourse, that during the sexual intercourse, so there may be a chance of getting sexually transmitted diseases. See, what is this sexually transmitted disease? So when the couple, when a man and a woman have the sexual intercourse, so there may be transfer of some of the viruses or bacteria which causes some diseases. So those are called sexually transmitted diseases. See, gonorrhea and syphilis are the examples of the bacterial sexually transmitted diseases. So if the person is having multiple partners to have the sexual act, then there may be chance of spread of these diseases. So there are some viral diseases. So these are bacterial diseases. So some of the viral diseases are also there. For example, HIV and viral warts. So are some of the diseases which may also occur in people who have multiple partners. So to avoid such type of sexually transmitted diseases which are fatal, means those may cause death to the people. So to avoid this, so during the sexual intercourse, the male may have the male should use condoms as the mechanical barrier. So condoms are the mechanical barriers. By wearing this covering over the penis, so there may be he may avoid the transfer of the disease to his partner. So one such contraceptive method is the use of the condoms as mechanical barrier. So after knowing how to avoid the sexually transmitted diseases, so here the first contraceptive method is to use condoms. So these condoms are used as mechanical barriers where during the sexual intercourse the ejaculated sperms are prevented to enter into the vaginal region. So here the vaginal coverings are also available where the females can wear a vaginal covering to avoid the sperm entry into the vagina. So second method, so contraceptive method is use of oral pills. See, pills nothing but tablets. So these tablets are usually taken by the females to maintain the hormonal balance. If the hormonal balance is altered, she may not have the menstrual cycle. As there is no egg production, so she may not have the risk of getting the pregnancy. So for making the hormonal balance to get impaired and that egg is not produced, so she can avoid the pregnancy very easily. So another one is, so the females can have this copper T. So it is a loop-like structure. So it can be inserted inside the uterus where this copper T having the T-shaped structure, so it avoids the entry of the sperms inside the vaginal region. So this copper T is another such type of contraceptive method. So at last, the people may opt for surgical operations. See, surgical operations are done both to the males and females. So here females, the fallopian tube is cut or it is ligated. So since in a surgical operation that tube is ligated, so there may not be a union of sperms with the egg. In case of males, vast difference is taken out in a small surgical operation and it is tied and again inserted back so that sperms are not ejaculated, whereas the people or couple can avoid the union of the sperm and the egg. So these are some of the contraceptive methods. By using them, the couple can avoid the unwanted pregnancy. Avoid the pregnancies. So another method that is suggested is to have illegal sex selective abortion. See, if accidentally pregnancy occurs, the couple may opt to go for abortion. So that is natural in case of unwanted pregnancy, but the people may make or they misuse this surgery to have the selection of the sexes. So if they come to know that the fetus is a female fetus, if they come to know that fetus is a female child, then they will opt for the abortion and that creates this illegal sex selective abortion. So that makes impairment in the sex ratio. So as the female feticide will be there everywhere, so there may be impairment in the male and female sex ratio. So this is another problem of this surgical operation, that is having the abortion. So you came to know all the knowledge about this reproductory process. So in this lesson you came to know what are the changes you observed during the teenagers and how the body of a teenager adapt itself to have all these changes, and what happens in your reproductory structures, and how eggs are produced in the female reproductive structure, and how sperms and how is the structure of the male reproductive system. So all those you learnt, and after that you learnt about the contraceptive methods, and to conclude this lesson, see here, the reproduction is the process by which organisms increase their populations. See why there is a life process called reproduction. To know the answer to this question, we discussed earlier that reproduction is very necessary to prove our existence on this earth. So that naturally leads to increase in the population. As people go on reproducing, so the size of the population becomes more. So what happens if this population becomes expanded unproportionately? So there may be poor standard of living of the people. So to avoid this poor standard of living, people should think about these contraceptive methods and how to avoid
Hope
these
you understood each and every concept of reproduction.
process. Hope you understand each and every concept
Hope you understood
of this
each and every
reproduction
concept of
process.
this reproductive process.